Today we're going to look on page 10 in the grab and go and look at theme in literature. So what we need as a secure skill for 5th grade is to look at the details in the text, including how the character responds to challenges to determine a theme. What we're developing is explaining how the theme is developed over the course of the text, including the relationships to the characters, settings, and plots. So we're going to start working on that developing skill, but it won't be tested, but it will come up again then in future years. So we're just kind of like building that, but you really need to be able to securely say, here is what the theme is in the story. The theme of the story is the underlying message in the story. Many times it is confused with the main idea or the summary of events. The main idea is what the text is about, generally referring to an informational text. A summary is a short statement of what happened in the story or an informational text. The theme is an inference that relates to the underlying message or the lesson in the story. This theme is not directly stated, but it is implied, which means that you need to infer it. The reader must think about the character's experiences and choices to infer the theme of the story. There might be more than one theme in a story. So we're going to go back to that mini story about Nick and the skateboard. Nick got the skateboard that he asked for, but he felt very frustrated when he kept falling after a few feet. This looks so easy, but it's not. I have no skateboarding skills at all, he complained. Even though he was frustrated, he kept trying each weekend. Every Saturday, he got further down the street before he fell again. By the end of spring, Nick was able to skate all the way around the block. He was even able to go as fast as his brother running the dog, on the downhill slopes at least. So if I were to state what is the main idea, it's about learning to skateboard. But that's not the theme. That doesn't tell me what's the underlying message. So there are a countless number of themes, but in general, you can look at these 8 categories and find a category that a story generally fits into. So we could look at acceptance, courage, loyalty, compassion, kindness, perseverance, honesty, and cooperation. And I'm going to say this story about Nick and the skateboard goes to perseverance. It is when the characters keep trying even though they're challenged. So he was challenged by the skateboard, but he kept trying. So that is a good story of perseverance. And another story that we'll look at is Lunch Money, that teaches that same or uses that same theme. So now let's look at the other 7 main categories of theme. So we have acceptance. This is when characters bring in a character that is different. And a good example of that we'll read later is Wonder. Wonder teaches acceptance. Courage. When a character faces something that they fear. There's a book called Call It Courage, which really hits on that. Also looking at, if you look at a number of war stories, that would be another place where courage might come in. Loyalty. Loyalty is when characters stick by one another no matter what. Charlotte's Web is an excellent story for loyalty. And actually, when we go to Wonder, Wonder is another one where you could put in there for loyalty. Compassion. When characters learn what it is like to be in someone else's shoes. The Sneetches by Dr. Seuss. That's a good story for compassion. We have kindness. Characters learn how powerful their thoughtfulness can be. Horton Hears a Who. That's a good story for kindness. You could also say that Wonder is a good story for kindness. Honesty. When characters learn what happens when you lie, or the power of truth. So if you think like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, when he kept lying, and then when he actually needed help, no one wanted to come because he wasn't being honest. He learned the power of truth. And cooperation. Characters learn how much better things are when they work together. And a good story for that is Stone Soup. When everybody works together and they make a much better soup by bringing different ingredients to put it together. And when we say the theme, we wouldn't just say, this story has the theme of perseverance. You need to go further into that. So if we went back to this story of Nick and the skateboard, we could say, um, Nick was learning through perseverance by continuing to try with his skateboard. So it needs to have a bigger thing. Maybe even to say that by not giving up, you can learn how to do something new.